you go through it bit by bit so that they fully understand what it is that they have to do to get to a certain standard. So they work through it bit by bit, worked examples. Highly effective. Let's look at highly effective. Well, you've got now some of the ones that you know, the only ones at the left. So a highly effective one is, for example, not labelling students. So students are labelled in schools in all sorts of ways. And it's difficult not to. Really, it's really difficult not to. Labelling, I'll explain, yeah. But it could be that, or it could be, you know, I know we have in England, for example, we have special educational needs, for example. Yeah. We have, on the other side, you could say we've got the gifted and talented in the UK. And then we've got the bulk in the middle, which, here's another acronym. Write this one down, okay? If you want to, write this one down. It's called the RHINOS. The RHINOS. R-H-I-N-O-S. RHINOS. Now, the RHINOS are a research group. And do you know what it stands for? You know, like special educational needs is SEN. Yes. Right? Gifted and talented, or we call it G and T. This is RHINOS. Now get this one. These are research group, right? You'll not like it. Really? Here, in name only. Really here in name only, and then the S makes it the plural. So really here in name only. Now, these are the students who tend to come into school, and if you're a teacher in a school, they don't create any problems. They're very quiet. They don't say anything. They're just there. And then if you ask the teacher at the end of the lesson, was there a student in your class? And they go, let me look at the register. Oh yes, they were here. They're almost like they glide in and they glide out. Right, now they are a research group, the RHINOS, because it's an interesting thing, because we spend, if we're not careful, we spend a lot of time with the special educational needs, which is fine. We spend a lot of time with the gifted and talented, which you could argue is fine. But what about these students in the middle? Do they miss out? And why should we not treat them as a special group? In fact, why should we not treat every student as a special student? You know, so in some ways, labelling students can have a negative impact. This is what this is saying, okay? So not labelling students seems to be a good thing. Where did I put mine? Here. Oh, it's there. Thank you very much. Next one. Let's look at the next one. So, teaching strategies. It's good for teachers to be constantly looking to see what they can do differently. Teaching strategies. Try things. You know, yesterday we were saying failure is good. Try something, and if it doesn't work, learn why it hasn't worked, and therefore you move forward. So trying different teaching strategies. Teachers who are always trying something new will be the really effective teachers. They take risks. Not that they're going to damage students, of course, but they take a risk about doing something outside of their comfort zone. Teacher-student relationships. I think we probably would imagine this to have a big impact, and it does. The research shows that the better the relationship is between the student and the teacher, the better the learning is. Would you imagine that to be true? Yes. Yeah. So it actually, that sort of kind of ties in with what many of us would believe, isn't it? Yeah? And again, I'll send all of this through to you tonight as a PDF. Giving feedback, I think we've already mentioned, so I won't labour this anymore, but it's constant giving feedback to students, not at the end of the test, or just the end of the term, at the end of the year, but the ongoing feedback. Next one is formative evaluation, which I suppose links with giving feedback, but it's the ongoing process of them understanding their own learning, if you like. So, we've only got a few more to go. What's top of the pops? One is, strangely enough, Piaget's system. Now, this really struck me as something which I didn't expect, because I remember when I was training as a teacher, doing something about Piaget, but I couldn't remember what it was. We did it as part of the theory of education, you know, but to be honest, actually, I didn't really get it and really understand it. But Piaget, again, is, in simple terms, if we look at it, I mean, you can go in this in detail, obviously, but it's looking at the stages of development of a child, and therefore the appropriateness of what we're actually teaching them. I'll give you a very simple example, should I? Yes. Yeah? So, when I was teaching physics, density, do you know density? Yes. Yeah, for those people, you probably go, for those people who hated physics, by the way, you probably go, oh, hate it, I hate it, I hate it. But density is a thing that we teach to students. Conceptually, for a lot of students, they find that hard to appreciate because it's a difficult concept. Density is mass over volume. It's a hard thing for people to understand. Unless they're up to a certain age. Now, the age, you know, it's not specific, but it might be around about 13-year-old. So if we teach in density to children younger than that, the majority of them won't really get what on earth it's about. Does that make sense? So it's adapting what we're doing to their stage of mental development. Yeah? Okay, let's look at the top one. What's the top one? You'll pick out the top one now. It says self-reported grades and student expectations. John Hattie says that if he was to rewrite this, he would change it from self-reported grades completely and say it's about student expectations. In other words, the way that a student believes internally that they are able to do things has the biggest impact on their learning. Does this tie in with mindsets yesterday? Absolutely. Yes? Absolutely 100%. Because with mindsets yesterday, we were talking about those who have a fixed mindset and those who have a growth mindset. Remember, growth mindset is about, if I try, I have a good chance of succeeding, yes? And this research absolutely locks in with it completely. It's coming from a completely different angle. John Hattie has taken all the research around the world, analysed it, and categorised it into effect sizes. Carol Dweck has done personal studies with children to look at what difference their mindset has on their learning. But interestingly, they're virtually coming to the same conclusion. We have to work with students to raise their expectations. The more we can raise their expectations, the more they will be able to achieve. If we lower their expectations, their achievement will lower as well. Does this make sense? Yeah. Now, can I give you, just because I think if it's okay, the suggestion was we run through and then break as we did yesterday. That'll be okay. So, if I could give you now a chance to just have a chat about this with each other and what you think, just to absorb this information again, because otherwise we might lose it. So, give you a chance just to absorb it. This is also important with students, by the way, isn't it? You know, when we teach them, they need time to discuss and absorb information. So please do this with each other for about 5 minutes.